Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure to check out the Glebe Central Pub whenever you're in the Glebe, like tonight at TD Place, where it was a historic night for PWHL Ottawa. The Glebe Central Pub right around the corner at 779 Bank Street. Check out their Send Shuttle on their website, glebecentralpub.com. Tonight deteriorated into a debacle rather quickly. 5-0. The Senators trailed after the first period. I'm Ross Levitan. With me, as always, is Brandon Piller. And Pillsy, we even thought, should we just pretend this was after the Leafs game that we weren't postcasting for on vacation? This was about as bad as a comeback as you could have drawn up. For us, not for the team.
Yeah, it doesn't get much worse coming back to the postcast. We vent or we vibe. We're venting in this one. Not much vibing to be had here. This was embarrassing, just flat out embarrassing. Like Ross, they should have just shut this game down. Mercy ruled it at the end of the first period, saved everyone some time. We could go to bed early and just wrap it up and call this a game. Because although it ends up being 6-3, 40 minutes of this game were in garbage time for the Ottawa Senators. Every single goal that was scored up against the Sens tonight felt like a blooper. Like it belongs on SportsCenter top 10 blooper goals. I thought this was the Washington Generals up against the Harlem Globetrotters here. And you can figure out which team was which, as it was a complete gong show for the Senators in the first period. And the rest of the game does not matter.
No, it doesn't matter. And the Senators tried to make it interesting. We can get into that a little later, but we have to focus on the first period. And I will say, I prefer when the Senators take the second period off than when they take the first period off, because at least they pique my interest for 20 minutes. The Senators now fall to a putrid road record of 4-9. And not only are they 4-9, Pilsy, they're actually 2-0 in Toronto this year. So outside of Ontario, they're 2-9 so far this season on the road. Now, hey, those Leaf wins, you want to get those for sure.
This team does not travel well.
2 wins outside of Ontario this year, Pilsy. This is a complete gong show. I told my family, we all sat down. We had a great dinner. We sit down. We watched the game. I said, they're either going to win or it's going to be 2-0 Vancouver 3 minutes in. And what do? It's 2-0 5 minutes into the game. Do you want to go goal by goal? Because Anton Forsberg started this game. He was awful. But at the same time, it wasn't just on him. I felt like, 3 of the 4 goals that he let in, or 3 of the 5 goals in the first period, were deflections.
Yeah, and I mean, Ross, let's use our DJ Smith impression. We just didn't get the bounces tonight. But you can look at the bounces, but what leads to those bounces is lackluster efforts in puck battles, turning the puck over in your own end, and just being outclassed by the Vancouver Canucks. Sure, the goals that were going in, you can't fully put them on Forsey. Some wild deflections, some wild bounces that even at the best of times, it's going to be tough to stop those. But also, he wasn't exactly kicking any out. There wasn't any big saves here. So I'm going to chalk this one up as a full team effort. Terrible game for Forsey, terrible game for most of these guys on this team, and just overall an embarrassing night to be an Ottawa Senators fan. And Ross, this is a game where Senators fans, we always talk about it, flock to Vancouver games. All our Sens fans out in BC, they finally get a game that's in their time zone that works well for them. They don't have to watch the game at 4 p.m. A lot of Sens fans go to this game once a year, and this is what they're treated to. I feel bad for all the boots on the ground crew over on the West Coast tonight. Sheesh.
They even showed Wayne Gretzky, who was at the game with Chad Kroger from Nickelback and the owner of the Vancouver Canucks, and he looked like, what am I watching? at some points in this game. It was a tough one for the Ottawa Senators tonight. Now 5-0, they get the 1-0 second period victory. So we can do a victory lap on that, carry the Stanley Cup around the ice in Vancouver. And then the third period, they score in the first minute. They give you that. I posted the meme of the guy where he's sleeping. He wakes up and starts clapping. Then they kind of, like, again, score effects just played a role. The first period is this whole game. The whole game is the first period. The deserve to win a meter that I always like to laugh at. I don't really get it. I don't really understand how this was a 50-50 game apparently tonight. But like, you don't have to look any further, and we're a goalie friendly show. We really are, Pilsy. It starts with the goalies, and you think back to 2006. That's immediately where my mind went, to the Ottawa Senators' first-round playoff series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. John Graham let in 4 goals on 16 shots. And what did John Tortorella say after the game? I'm getting kind of tired of the 25% rule. And it doesn't, like, at some point you just need a save. Like, I don't know what more to say than that. You look down at the other end, Thatcher Demko, even that last second garbage time, post to post, makes a huge glove save on Chabot. Like, Ottawa's just not getting enough saves to win hockey games. You look at the expected goal or saves goals above expected, which kind of takes in the quality of the shots that they're facing, and they're at the bottom of the league. The only other guys who are at the bottom of the league with them, Pilsy, are Samsonov in Toronto, Vanacek. Well, okay, ready? We're going to do this then. Samsonov.
Waivers.
Vitek Vanacek.
Should be on waivers.
And Antti Ranta. Oh,
waivers.
Also was on waivers. Like, this is the company that the Senators goaltenders are keeping. There's no Hamburglar run in the mix. They can't even put a patty together. This is ground beef spread out all over the pan. This is a complete mess. Swiss cheese on top of the hamburger. And I mean, that last goal, like, they finally give you a glimmer of hope. And not that it was likely they were going to score 2 goals in the last 2.5 minutes, but at least they finally score a goal with the goalie pulled, albeit down 3. Like, think about how often the Senators pull the goalie and don't score. They finally got a goal to make it 2. And what do? As I'm sending the tweet out just to be like, hey, it's 5-3. A floater from the blue line bounces over Korpisalo's shoulder. Like, give me a save once in a while, please.
Yeah, Ross, there was no glimmer of hope for me. I don't know. Maybe it's because you're in the Sunshine State. A ray of glimmering sun peeked through there, but I didn't have hope for a single second. And then that was, like, at that point, Ross, normally when those goals happen, I'm dropping F-bombs. I'm getting pissed off. But at this point, I just threw my hands up and was like, yeah, that's about right. Like, let's just wrap this up before this gets more embarrassing. Because, like, that's one of those where that's simple goalie fundamentals, Ross. Like, you got to get your full body in front of that puck. Like, you can't allow it to bounce and hope it's going to hit you. You have to be an absolute wall there. And it's a short hopper that, what is it? I have it in my notes here. Like 13 seconds after the Sens score, that happens. And yeah, just complete balloon deflated. And that's where we try to be goalie friendly. We try to be goalie huggers, Ross, Noodles as well. But there's not a chance in hell you're giving benefit of the doubt to Korpisalo there. That's just an embarrassing goal that the rest of the team's got to be like, man, we can't even have 14 seconds of hope and momentum here.
So the Senators lose the game 6-3, but it was 5-0 after the first period. The Senators just completely trip over their own skate laces heading out on the ice, and literally, it was 2-0 before you knew it, and then it just kept piling on and getting worse and worse and worse. Heck, the Ottawa Senators let Ian Cole score his first goal of the season.
90 games since his last goal, Ross.
90 games. You serious?
Yeah, that's what they said on the broadcast. 90 games since Ian Cole's last goal.
That's ridiculous. Pia Suter, who a lot of Sens fans wanted to target this summer, he scores his 7th, and those are 2 goals. Well, I guess the second one wasn't until 12:39, but then they came fast and furious. There was a span where they scored 2 goals in 24 seconds in the second half of the period, where it went from 2-0 to 4-0, and then a minute and 7 seconds later, Pettersson scores his second. My lookout player, they didn't listen to me. clearly. It was a power play goal, the only power play goal of the game. And there were only one power play each. So the Canucks go 100% on the power play. The Sens go 0% on their own. A couple of veterans, though, did snap goalless droughts. Claude Giroux scores his 10th of the season. It's his first goal in 10 games. That made it 5-1. Then Vladimir Tarasenko scored his first goal in 9 games. That made it 5-2. And then Vladimir Tarasenko scored again. So kind of funny how finicky hockey is, right? He goes 8 games without a goal and then scores 2 goals in a matter of 18 minutes in the third period of this game. Justin, really appreciate the hat tip there. Happy New Year to New. The coins and the guitar, as we say, always welcome and appreciated. This is not on the goalies. Why no timeout? That's an interesting one. I also want to get to another one that I believe Justin had both of those in there as well. We can get to that first, though. Why no timeout? At what point would you have liked to see a timeout? Would you like to see Forsberg get pulled earlier? Was there anything you thought that Jacques Martin could have done to really slow the momentum down?
No, I think pulling the goalie right there was the right move. Like at that point, that fourth goal, it just was not going to go the Sens way, and more specifically, it was not going to go Forsberg's way. I don't think a timeout would have settled things down enough. I think at that point, it's just like, okay, we gotta pull the plug on Forsey here, and we gotta try to stop the bleeding while we can, and hopefully, 4-0, we're going to be able to turn things around, because it's still only the first period here, but it doesn't get any better as moments later, Pettersson gets that goal where he fans on the shot. He fans on it and makes it 5-0 in the first period. I get what you're saying, Justin, but I just think it had gone farther than what a timeout could really have healed there, and the goal needed to be gone there. It
Justin,
sucks
also,
for Forsey, but terrible.
Can the kids learn? Because obviously Giroux and Tarasenko, the two veterans on this team, were the ones who contributed all the offense. There's a lot of passengers out there right now. Another game where Josh Norris is completely invisible. Another game where you're hoping that Tim Stützle can use the dazzle and have some substance to it. But again, it's just he dangles and then he gives the puck away. There was some egregious giveaways. The one on the power play at the blue line where he had to get bailed out by Korpisalo on that breakaway in the second period. Just horrendous giveaways. And it's like, is that something that it takes time to coach out of players? Because that's the only thing I'm holding on to with that. Tim Stützle, I've got a future on FanDuel Sportsbook right now, 40 goals, man. I don't know if he's going to get 10 the way he's playing right now. He's got 2 goals in his last 17 games. But again, there's lots of blame to go around. Brady's defensive effort with Josh Norris on the Ian Cole when the first goal of the game was just non-existent. There was just everybody needs a piece of the blame right now. I think Claude Giroux is the only guy that to me looked like he was actually, I don't want to say effort. I never want to say effort, but the only one who could really execute their performance in tonight's game. Otherwise, it was a bunch of zeros out there for me. And just brutal. Overall, brutal effort and a lot of guys who you could pass the blame around to.
Well, and Ross, Giroux was the only guy that seemed upset or bothered by this. Isn't that what you noticed? At the end of the first period, I was like, okay, at least I want to see some frustration. Nobody was frustrated other than Giroux. And I guess normally we're knocking Timmy for being too frustrated, but I don't know. It just seems like this was a 5-0 first period where the Sens are like, darn. Here we go.
Schedule loss type thing, kind of effort. And Adam asks, and I appreciate that, Adam, with the constant losing, when do we worry that the good players won out? I'm honestly Brady Tkachuk. I feel like he's the captain. He's obviously very emotionally invested in this team. I don't think we're there with him. We've talked about this on different shows, Pilsy, where it's like, look, I think that Michael Andlauer has a lot of clout and carries a lot of weight with the way that he goes about his business. I think that he's going to sit guys down and just be like, look, we're not looking at this as a 1-year plan. It's not a be all end all this year. I'm looking at this over a 5, 10, 15-year span, and we're comfortable. And Staios has said you can wait a lifetime to get a captain like Brady Tkachuk. I think the management and ownership are going to do everything they can to make sure that Brady understands the long-term view of this. Number 28, Claude Giroux, I'm starting to worry. I think that for him, it's almost like if it's completely out of it, He's got 1 year left after this on his deal. So I don't know if this is the year that conversation even really begins. I think maybe it's next year. And then with the family ties, who knows? Maybe he just wants to play in Ottawa and believes in this group. Clearly believed in them when he signed here. But like, where are you at with this? Do you think this could be a worry where players will start asking out? Because I'm on the other mind. I think it's almost where players might have to be sent out because it's too much of a country club atmosphere. And there's not like, it's almost like you want to leave, good, then you're part of the problem. Like that's almost, other than Giroux, where it's like, hey, he's 36 next week. He might be running out of time to go win a Stanley Cup. If anybody else wants out, then to me, they're part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I felt about Alex DeBrincat, Ross, but you're looking at guys that are locked up here, and I really believe that these players believe in each other and feel like they have the right core. Like this roster should not be performing at the level that they're performing right now. And I think the players understand that and they expect more from each other, but I don't know. I'm too sad to get into the thoughts of we finally think, okay, guys are locked up, the core is here. Everybody's going to be in their prime years at good deals, especially with the cap hopefully going up. I can't do this right now, Ross. We can't do this yet.
I stand by what I say though. If you want out, go get out of here, because there's a lot of guys who can and we've seen bring more to the table than what they've brought right now. Connor, appreciate when the opponent comes in here and has some words of encouragement. This is the state of the Ottawa Senators. We're not even getting chirped on Twitter, and I said it before the season. I want all the smoke. Other teams' fan bases legitimately feel bad for us, dude.
And Ross, how ironic our crossover episodes with our good pals over at Locked On Canucks now debating which team is going to be better this year. How do these two teams stack up against each other? And Sens fans flooded their page saying, oh, Sens are going to be so much better. And this is honestly, like I said at the start of the show, it's the Washington Generals up against the Harlem Globetrotters here. Like it is just two different levels of hockey teams that were up against each other tonight. And the Ottawa Senators didn't even come close, regardless of a 6-3 score that shines it up a little bit. Really, this was just a disaster.
They've polished so many turds this year. The 5-1 to Buffalo where they made it 5-4. Like they've really put some lipstick on some very ugly games so far this season. Thanks for the note there, Connor. Pilsy, wait until you see on those stat scores, those game score stat logs, who the best Ottawa Senator was tonight. That's going to make you laugh. But first, let me tell you about something that'll make you feel good, and that's a trip to the Glebe Central Pub. The Postcast is always brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub, right in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. You can visit them for great food, tasty drinks, and an awesome atmosphere. Go check out their website as well, glebecentralpub.com. They've always got an up-to-date Sens shuttle bus. The next one is going on. Well, we've actually got some coming at January 16th. It looks like the next one is against the Colorado Avalanche, Montreal on January 18th, and then Winnipeg on January 20th. That's an afternoon game, so great game to turn up at the Glebe Central Pub. $17 round trip gets you to and from the game. Great vibes, awesome atmosphere, and you know what's great too is that you can leave the keys at home. You don't have to worry about getting in behind the wheel. You can or dealing with the traffic at the parking lot. Just rely on Sue. She'll get you to the game. She'll get you back to the Glebe Central Pub right in the heart of the Glebe. Go visit them. Tasty food. The vibes are free at the GCP. Go check them out, 779 Bank Street, and visit them and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and for a good reason. They're North America's #1 sportsbook. Why would you go anywhere else? I love FanDuel because their app is the best out there. Safe, simple, secure, easy to use. If a guy like me can use that app, so can you. And I love it because you can bet on spreads, player props, over-under. So maybe you cheer for a team that doesn't exactly cash in a lot of shekels in the money line department. well, you can work around that, find other ways to get your green numbers in your account with FanDuel. And it's not just hockey, or I should say, not just men's hockey. You can bet on the PWHL as well. Ross mentioned a couple of the odds in today's episode. You can bet on football, basketball, college sports, whatever you like at FanDuel. And for our friends in the States, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller here, wrapping up, putting a bow on a 6-3 loss. Ottawa Senators falling to the Vancouver Canucks. Oh my goodness. Sens fan and Van was at the game. They say, we're home. It was as painful as it looked. And then worse, they then go on to say the following. Pilsy, I'm going to let you read this one.
Why you got to do this to me? Sens fan in Van. Great seats. 5-0 after first period. 3 words, Pilsy. Chicago, brother. Sadness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. God.
That was also the first game of a long road trip, wasn't it?
It was, Ross, and we've talked about this over and over. That was a back-breaking game, and this was shades of it, although at least the Senators get a couple goals, and this is up against arguably one of the best teams in the NHL, not the worst, but still, yeah, bad vibes.
Bad vibes and a bad result. Justin, we're going to get to yours in just a second. I just want to kind of recap how we got here tonight in a 6-3 loss, the Ottawa Senators. And again, score effects are really taking a toll when I pull up the end of game graphic that we always do here on Locked On Senators. It's doing so much work. Like the Senators outshot Vancouver 38-26. Right? The face-off percentage, basically 50-50, 50.9 for Vancouver. Also, the 5-on-5 shot percentage, 50.9 for Vancouver. The hits, Ottawa had 22, Vancouver had 19, and Ottawa actually had 20 block shots in this game. Vancouver had 17. Pills, you think they counted JBD swatting a Michigan attempt off of the goal line, if you want to call it like a Michigan flip over an alley-oop for goodness sake. It was, and again, the Harlem Globetrotters were playing against the Washington Generals tonight. But you think they counted that as a block shot? I thought it was going to be a penalty shot. I thought he put his hand over the puck and closed it.
It was very close, and that just would have been another embarrassing thing to tick on this list. Ross, one thing I thought of, though, is a good indication that the players don't trust their goaltenders are when they're sitting in the crease and ready to catch pucks like JBD, ready to do a butterfly save like Tim Stützle, stopping it on the line with their skate. I believe Travis Hamonic did that. Like, that's the telltale sign, Ross, that defensemen know, or at least feel, like their goalies can't make routine saves, and they have to act like a second goalie, literally in the blue paint, in the goalie position, not worried about the guys out front, just trying to stop pucks, trying to get more surface area in that net. Like, that's not a good sign, in my opinion.
Dude, the third goal, I believe, Travis Hamonic was behind Anton Forsberg. Like,
yeah. Then I forget what other goal, but Thomas Chabot ends up in the net on his ass, trying to scoop the puck out before the ref can notice that it's in. Like, just the visuals of all of these goals, like the USA Today photos, Ross, of the goals being scored, is just going to be disastrous sends all over the ice, dejected, and it's a bad look. All of them, almost. All
of them. You know, it's a good look. It's when we have great people like Justin in the mix. Justin mentioning that it was a crazy bounce on Korpisalo. Somebody on Twitter called it the Dan Cloutier special, which being in Vancouver tonight, that was a really good one. Tommy Salo would be proud of that goal against as well. I think back to the Olympics against Canada.
Yep.
But why would his boys up front wait until third period to show potential? Justin, if we had the answers, man, we might be managing this team. It was really tough to watch tonight. Just a completely dejected group. And look, we're 25 minutes in the show, and I think we focused a lot on Ottawa being brutal. You have to look at the Vancouver Canucks as one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. They bring it shift after shift. Everybody was going, and they're physical. They're tough to play against, and they're always first on the puck. And if they're not, they're going to battle you until they get it back. Like Ottawa, they just got outmanned, but a team that you really have to give credit to. They are a good team. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a reason they are where they are in the standings. And Ross, you mentioned if we had those answers, we could manage this team and etc. This is Dave Poulin's first viewing of the Ottawa Senators as Senior Vice President of Hockey Operations. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see the discussions he was having with the rest of the Brain Trust and Steve Stais and Ryan Bonus up in that box as this game is happening. Because we've talked to Pooley a lot, and we know, although he's a soft-spoken man, he's more than happy to share his honest opinion about things. And I would have loved to hear what Pooley thought about how this game looked in front of his eyes, watching it from a bird's eye view like that.
And everyone in the chat live, I know a lot of people are probably listening to this on Thursday, it's past midnight, so it's actually Wednesday, as this game was Tuesday night late on the West Coast, and it's going to stay late over the next number of days. By the way, Edmonton's won 5 in a row. That's who Ottawa has on Saturday. And oh yeah, Joey Decord's coming off a Winter Classic shutout. I'm sure he'll get the start on Thursday. That leads me to this. Angus Crookshank, we talked about, and again, not in the lineup tonight. You look back and, dude, Zach McEwen really felt the need to chase down Noah Juleson at 4-0 or 5-0. That's where I was like, it's embarrassing. Like, if you're not going to get a fight, here's how I would have handled that. If I'm Zach McEwen, I know I'm out there for one reason. I'm going to throw a big hit. I'm going to try to get in a fight. If the guy doesn't want to fight, I'm just going to go and hunt down whoever has the puck, and I'm going to hit him as hard as I possibly can. And you know what? Sometimes that ignites a fight. Sometimes that's like, oh, he's trying to hurt my guy clean, but he's trying to hurt him. Now I'll fight. But to just continue to go after the same guy until you get a 10-minute misconduct and just take yourself out, it's the most useless play in hockey right there. Especially
Ross, that egregiously behind the play when the ref is right there. And Juleson clearly has no interest in taking that bait. And is that the guy you go for? Like, I was kind of confused as to why he targeted Juleson in the first place. But yeah, Ross, that's why I kind of mentioned, I thought switching out Crooker for McEwen might have been the right move here. Sure, McEwen's coming off that clapper. It was a fun little fluff piece there, and it looked nice. But this is kind of what we've seen from Zach McEwen so far. So I would have been happy to give him a seat and let Crooker play in front of in his home area of Vancouver. So, but I mean, what difference?
Yeah, like we're complaining about. I think just at that point in the game, you're just hoping to like catch on to something that's going to keep you up, and instead, that just felt like the ultimate loser move is to be like, well, if we can't beat them, at least we'll fight them. But if they won't fight us, I'll just put them in a headlock and get a 10-minute misconduct. Just like,
well, and then they score on that power play, don't they?
Yes, yeah. That was the power play.
That was the only power play goal all game. Yeah.
Pilsy, so 6-3 the score. It's now just like it's getting to a head with Anton Forsberg for me. Just like, look, he can have great performances. We saw it against Buffalo, 45 saves. And again, with Anton Forsberg, he's faced over 38 shots 3 times this year, and he's 3-0 in those games. But when he doesn't, either he doesn't face it or he's not in net for a long enough period, it's tough to watch. It's really tough to watch. Justin, you know what? That Toonie is going to get me to put my hand up. I was going to say ride the hot hand. He was brutal. And I think now you're looking at a point where like I don't trust him to start. Like he is to me. And look, they've done this before with Matt Murray, where it kind of takes the pressure off the players who I don't think have also been good. But if Anton Forsberg was on waivers Wednesday at 2 p.m., I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do here, Ross, because
they haven't made a roster addition or a notable subtraction since Vladimir Tarasenko. The new regime has not added anybody or taken away anybody.
I mean, they've had a lot on their hands dealing with Pinto suspension, firing DJ Smith, firing Dorion, and hiring Dave Poulin. Like they're just trying to clean up on the off-ice stuff before they can even get to the disaster that is the on-ice product here. But yeah, I don't know if you send him through waivers, Ross. Not because I'm worried anyone will pick him up. Well, I guess they can't. They can't just bring up. They can't just bring up Sogard, right? Can they
could bring up.
afford that?
Oh, probably not.
Well, with Joseph injured, maybe they can. I don't know. This
Hmm.
whole cap situation is absolutely nuts and it's hard to keep track of. But like, I think at the very least, Ross, yeah, you bring Sogard up just to say we've given you guys a leash here, and it's been unacceptable. We got to try something. And Sogard's been having a nice season down in Belleville.
But are you
need to
comfortable
do
with
something.
that? Do you think that could be a bad thing with the way they're playing, though?
What do you mean?
Like, if he comes in and faces 5 high danger shots in the first period, lets in 4, like, are you worried about his confidence?
Not really, Ross, because Sogard went through that a lot last year. Like he was in the circus last year, not because they wanted him to be, but out of default, and that the injuries was just insane to this team last season. So you have to start doing something here because this goaltending, I can't believe it's gotten this bad. Like, remember we had Sens fans talking about this goalie tandem being one of the best around. Like we had so much belief that this was going to be a 1A, 1B system that works and that other successful teams were using tandem style goaltending more than the traditional starter and backup goaltending. But it's not working here. And I think you got to start looking at how the Ottawa Senators maintain their goalies here, because when you start looking at goalies coming to Ottawa being brutal and then leaving and finding immediate success with new teams, that's happened over and over and over again, it feels like, that's concerning.
Concerning would be an understatement. Like, at this point, like, we're almost halfway through the year, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this team is who they are. Like, and look, people were mentioning, and I got the Vancouver feed down here where I am, and Ray Ferraro, this is the exact quote. I even rewound it because it was just so hard to hear the first time. What did he say here? Lots of tweets tonight at Sens Central. You can go check it out. Shout out to my guy Skylar Peters too. His boots on the ground. I work with him in Winnipeg, and he had a great. He just sent me the video out of the blue, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
For Skylar. So here's the exact quote: "If you play with structure, the Sens will give you all kind of chances every night."
Yeah. That's dead on. Like the Vancouver Canucks just played a good structured first period and they won those puck battles and they were able to pounce on turnovers in the Sens end. And say what you want about the puck luck, the bounces, bad goaltending, but the Vancouver Canucks created their own luck in this game. Like it wasn't like this was a game that the Ottawa Senators should have won. That deservo meter is a big time score effects. The Vancouver Canucks forced this win and this dominance really early in the first 20 minutes. And they what they did the rest of the game was irrelevant, Ross. They could have just parked the bus, which I feel like they kind of did just park the bus, and they're able to double up on the Sens still 6-3.
6-3, the final score for the Ottawa Senators. But if you look after the first period, the shots were 15-9 in favor of Vancouver, and the score was 5-0 in favor of Vancouver. I was telling you right before we went live here, and you look at the Winnipeg Jets right now. The Winnipeg Jets right now they're having a historically good last month and a half, but I did find it interesting that they haven't allowed more than 2 goals in regulation in a game in their last 13 games. Tonight, Ottawa let in 4 goals in 16 minutes, 5 goals in the first period.
Yeah.
Like, that's embarrassing. It really is. And Justin asked if he wants to use the first 2 round picks to add in solid kids to the farm. I don't, the way you're wording this, like they can't trade those picks. Like they have to make those picks. And I know it's a longer process, but I would not make one of the, like, for example, Montreal, like trading a first round pick and getting Alex Newhook, or I think that was 2 early seconds, or they got Kirby Doc for, whatever the pick ended up being, 13th overall, whatever it was, for Romanov, or that 3-way trade with Chicago and the Islanders. I think you just make the picks, dude. I think you need that, like, the reset of the farm system with the eyes of the scouts that you have in the system now.
Well, Ross, that's always been the Ottawa Senators' success is through drafting and developing, right? Like going the free agent route hasn't worked out for this team. Big trades have been you win some, you lose some, big wins, big losses. I feel like they have to get back to drafting and developing. And for a franchise that hasn't drafted in the first round the last 3 years yet have been in the basement. Well, 2 years, sorry, but it have been the basement of the league that entire time is not good.
No, not good at all. Pillsy, give me some final thoughts because we'll get into this more tomorrow on Locked On Senators. But you sickos were up here 1:20 a.m. Eastern time after a 6-3 loss where this game was like the game started at 10 Eastern. The game was over at 10:30 Eastern. And you guys are still dialed in. Kara, Matty Joe is on the trip. They do miss him in the lineup. There's no question about that. Jacob Bernard Docker left in the third period, did not return. Not sure what's going on there. Eric Brancher moved back and played center. That's
He's playing center now. All right.
Went back and played defense, but JBD was awful tonight. That Shabbat JBD pair just doesn't work. The people want to spin, Pillsy. The people want to end off the show with the spin.
How can I deny it? Like that was terrible. Give the people their spin.
The Sharks couldn't even do us a favor. Dylan Larkin scored with 90 seconds left, or I might have got the timing wrong, but in the last couple of minutes to get the regulation win. And now the Sharks have lost 9 in a row.
Yeah, I don't. That's just a double bad game for the Sens. Whether you're cheering for tanking or P words, that's not good.
It's just brutal. So here we go. This is how we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for coming into the mix here. And Celebrini looked like, have a day. Senators, Ottawa hockey fans. Canada loses in the quarterfinals to Czechia. PWHL Ottawa loses in overtime to Montreal. They're leading in the third period. They give up the tire. They give up the game-winning goal. And then Ottawa comes out and lays an egg at 10 o'clock. At night. So you deserve this, Sens fans. This is the Tankathon spin. We will each do one spin. No official results until after the season. Spin number 1. Tampa gets the second overall pick. Just
come on. I mean, at least Ottawa gets third, but yikes.
I don't think I would take third if I knew Tampa of all teams was getting second.
Ross, we got to figure our own stuff out first. I don't care who gets the picks ahead of us. Like other teams are irrelevant at this point. Like the Ottawa Senators just need to worry about not dealing with getting relegated to a lower league.
They certainly do. All right, Pills, you ready for your spin?
Hit me.
Okay. Buffalo, another first overall pick, but if we get draft second,
I mean, they can't do anything with first overall picks. Let them have it.
All right, so this was a successful 2 spins.
Do one for the Citizens.
One for the Citizens. Okay, one for the Citizens. All right, no, Citizens get to watch Anaheim go up and take Mackling. Okay. Celebrini. Brutal. We'll get into individual players. Let us know in the comments as well after the show if there's certain topics that we didn't get to in tonight's show that you want us to discuss. We're the show for fans by fans here on Locked On Senators. Pilsy, give the people some final thoughts here.
This was a tough way to start the new year. I mean, my God. Like, this is like shades of, was it 2021 when they played the Leafs New Year's Day and they lost 6-0? Like, this was similar vibes here. Maybe it was the degenerate Sens fan I am being like, okay, new year, clean slate, 2024. Let's kick things off good here. They win 2 of their last 3 games before the year closed out here. I know Vancouver's a really good team, but that doesn't excuse how this team starts off in the first period. So I'm so nervous going up against Seattle as they just shut out the Vegas Golden Knights, as you mentioned. Now it's at home against Seattle. Joey Decord. Don't make Ross post the stat about former Sens goalies up against them.
This one I'd be happy to because I can just pat myself on the back and say I was right all along.
Yeah,
Should have kept Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
brutal.
final thoughts for me is sadness, Ross.
Very much sadness. We got some people asking about the PWHL Ottawa game recap. We'll save that for a third segment in tomorrow's show. I caught the third period of it. I love the compete of the girls. They were flying out there. It's unfortunate though they couldn't get the victory, but we'll touch on that more tomorrow, because I know 30 minutes will be plenty to get into this game, and I need to go listen to Jacques Martin, because I need this guy to talk me off the ledge, because I've just had it with this team right now. And also, I've been going over the 2017, 2018, basically the Jacques Martin era Pittsburgh Penguins teams, and seeing which depth players might be available, because I feel like they need to bring in someone where Jacques was an assistant coach, or maybe with the Rangers during the COVID season, just someone who can, like a veteran type who's in the locker room. Like we saw it tonight with the Vancouver Canucks, like a Sam Lafferty, a guy like a veteran bottom six guy who can have some sort of stability.
But I don't know if you're going to use assets to bring in an interim coach's guy.
Just for the end of the year. They just need to bring in somebody who's going to at least preach the same message as the coach.
I'm thinking sell, Ross. I'm not thinking buy.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll discuss it more over the next number of days, weeks, months, and years. Hopefully, we're talking playoffs eventually, but I think right now, oh my goodness! And over the next couple of weeks, we will get back with Mark Mathot and have Martian's gonna be back in the postcast on Thursday. But for today, we say goodbye. It was a 6-3 loss for the Ottawa Senators, falling to the Vancouver Canucks, starting this road trip out with another loss. The Senators fall to 4-9 on the road this season, and overall, yikes, they fall to 14-19 through 33 games. Good for 28 points. They've got 3 wins in their last 10 games. And oh yeah, doesn't get any easier, because the Seattle Kraken are rolling, and that's where the Senators will play next on Thursday. For today, though, we say goodbye. Let's get some Go Sens go in the chat. I need some Go Sens goes, because right now it's tough when you watch the team go just put up zeros in the first period overall. So we will get into this more tomorrow on Locked On Senators. Shout out to the Glebe Central Pub for taking care of us. The Glebe Central Pub, right in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for tasty food, great drinks, awesome atmosphere, and get your shuttle to the Senators games. $17 round trip to the CTC. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.